Welcome you all in BBA and MBA Guide by Samiya Hamid. Today is the 6th lecture about management. The topics we are going to cover today are contemporary approach that comprises on system perspective and contingency perspective of management. Many elements of the earlier approaches to management theory continue to influence how managers manage. Most of these earlier approaches focused on managers' concerns inside the organization. Starting in the 1960s, management researchers began to look at what was happening in the external environment outside the boundaries of the organization. Two contemporary management perspectives, systems and contingency, are part of this approach. Systems theory is a basic theory in the physical sciences, but had never been applied to organized human efforts. In 1938, Chester Barnard, a telephone company executive, first wrote in his book, The Functions of an Executive, that an organization functioned as a cooperative system. However, it wasn't until the 1960s that management researchers began to look more carefully at systems theory and how it related to organizations. A system is a set of interrelated and interdependent parts arranged in a manner that produces a unified whole. The two basic types of systems are closed and open. Closed systems are not influenced by and do not interact with their environment. In contrast, open systems are influenced by and do interact with their environment. Today, when we describe organizations as systems, we mean open systems. As this shows a diagram of an organization from an open systems perspective. As you can see, an organization takes in inputs, resources, from the environment, and transforms or processes these resources into outputs that are distributed into the environment. The organization is open to and interacts with its environment. How does the systems approach contribute to our understanding of management? Researchers proposed an organization as being made up of interdependent factors, including individuals, groups, attitudes, motives, formal structure, interactions, goals, status, and authority. What this means is that as managers coordinate work activities in the various parts of the organization, they ensure that all these parts are working together so the organization's goals can be achieved. For example, the systems approach recognizes that, no matter how efficient the production department might be, the marketing department must anticipate changes in customer tastes and work with the product development department in creating products customers want, or the organization's overall performance will suffer. In addition, the systems approach implies that decisions and actions in one organizational area will affect other areas. For example, if the purchasing department doesn't acquire the right quantity and quality of inputs, the production department won't be able to do its job. Finally, the systems approach recognizes that organizations are not self-contained. They rely on their environment for essential inputs and as outlets to absorb their outputs. No organization can survive for long if it ignores government regulations, supplier relations, or the varied external constituencies upon which it depends. How relevant is the systems approach to management? Quite relevant. Consider, for example, a shift manager at a Starbucks restaurant who must coordinate the work of employees filling customer orders at the front counter and the drive-through windows, direct the delivery and unloading of food supplies, and address any customer concerns that come up. This manager manages all parts of the system so that the restaurant meets its daily sales goals. The early management theorists came up with management principles that they generally assumed to be universally applicable. Later research found exceptions to many of these principles. For example, division of labor is valuable and widely used, but jobs can become too specialized. Bureaucracy is desirable in many situations, but in other circumstances, other structural designs are more effective. Contingency approach. Management is not and cannot be based on simplistic principles to be applied in all situations. Different and changing situations require managers to use different approaches and techniques. The contingency approach, sometimes called the situational approach, says that organizations are different, face different situations, contingencies, and require different ways of managing. A good way to describe contingency is if, then. If this is the way my situation is, then this is the best way for me to manage in this situation. It's intuitively logical because organizations, and even units within the same organization differ in size, goals, work activities, and the like. It would be surprising to find universally applicable management rules that would work in all situations. But, of course, it's one thing to say that the way to manage depends on the situation, and another to say what the situation is. Management researchers continue working to identify these situational variables. There are 4 popular contingency variables. Although the list is by no means comprehensive, more than 100 different variables have been identified. It represents those most widely used and gives you an idea of what we mean by the term contingency variable. The primary value of the contingency approach is that it stresses there are no simplistic or universal rules for managers to follow. Organization size. As size increases, so do the problems of coordination. For instance, the type of organization structure appropriate for an organization of 50,000 employees is likely to be inefficient for an organization of 50 employees. Routineness of task technology. To achieve its purpose, an organization uses technology. Routine technologies require organizational structures, leadership styles, and control systems that differ from those required by customized or non-routine technologies. Environmental uncertainty. The degree of uncertainty caused by environmental changes influences the management process. What works best in a stable and predictable environment may be totally inappropriate in a rapidly changing and unpredictable environment. Individual differences. Individuals differ in terms of their desire for growth, autonomy, tolerance of ambiguity, and expectations. These and other individual differences are particularly important when managers select motivation techniques, leadership styles, and job designs. This is all about today's lecture. Hope you find this video useful. If you find any query, you can ask by commenting below. Please share this video with friends and fellows. And don't forget to like and subscribe the channel.